What is something a high school teacher told you that you will never forget?
Whenever my teacher said anything controversial that he didn't want repeated, he would preface it with, "Don't quote me on this because I'll just deny it." I still use that.
Class camp. We're out walking a trail to the next campsite, carrying our lives in our packs. I was not in great physical shape and was well back in the rear. So it's basically just me and one teacher to make sure no one fell too far back. We came to a part where a branch had fallen across the trail. Big enough to be an effort to move it, but not so large that it couldn't have been moved by any of the 30+ other students and teachers that had already walked around it. Without even thinking about it, I grabbed the branch and tossed it to the side of the path. The teacher said to me, 30 boys walked past that branch. It took one man to move it, and he made life easier for every person after him. It became a personal motto, of sorts. Make it easier for the people who come after you. Although when you do a good job, the person who comes after you is usually also you.
Called me out of English my senior year to chat in the hall just to check on me and how I was doing. I had planned to head to the girls' room after that class with a purse full of pills to kill myself. That one act of being seen changed the entire direction of my life. I'm in my 40s now and run a non-profit that works with our school to provide food, clothes, school supplies, Christmas gifts, prom dresses, testing fees. Pretty much anything a student might lack that takes their focus off being the best them they can be. We work to meet it. I have 4 teens and a dozen more of their friends who view our house as their second home and safe space when things are rough at home. Mr. Williams, you were an angel and your impact has touched hundreds of kids because you showed me the value of helping kids know they matter.
Pay attention to what you pay attention to.
2005 A teacher said intelligence of the future will not be defined by how well you know one skill but instead how well you can find information and decipher what information is good and bad.
My music teacher used to tell me that before you could break the rules, you had to understand them.
I had an English teacher my freshman year of high school who was one of the rare adults that treated all of his students with respect while at the same time challenging us to do better. I distinctly remember him telling our class, "You are not as mature as you think you are, but you are more mature than your parents give you credit for." He also told us about an agreement rule he had with his own kids. He understood how hard it was for kids to do the right thing in the face of peer pressure. So he had told his kids that if they were ever in a situation, underage drinking, drugs, whatever, where they knew they shouldn't be, they could call and using an previously agreed upon code word that was banal and unsuspicious, he would know he needed to go get them and be the bad guy. He would show up, Uncle Buck style, and get them out of wherever they were. This would allow him to save face with their friends and there would be no consequences for being the situation in the first place.
That our town was a beep and the best advice he could give us was to move out and live elsewhere. Decades later, he was correct.
A teacher of mine said he would write me a letter of recommendation, but it had been a week or so and he hadn't gotten back to me yet. I went in a third time to remind him and I started off with an apology, to which he corrected me, saying, "Don't ever stop advocating for yourself." It's advice I haven't forgotten since.
Our high school chemistry teacher said, "Remember, a warm test tube or Bunsen burner are no substitutes for a satisfying relationship."
If you're ever living in poverty, a block of cheese and a loaf of bread can feed you for days.
My freshman year history teacher told us first day of school about how he went to college with Bill Gates. Said he was one of the people that Bill asked to invest in his startup. He had declined. And here I am, teaching history class to high schoolers.
My high school biology teacher, on the end of every quiz or exam, would put a giveaway point question. The question was always the same: science is A, exciting, B, interesting, C, a challenge, D, all of the above. No matter which you marked, you got the point. However, since this was on every exam, the saying was sandblasted into my long-term memory. This led to me always somehow muttering this whenever I was taking an exam in university, substituting the word science with whatever necessary. Then it led to me muttering it whenever I was dealing with something stressful. Now it has become a fallback whenever I run into a life roadblock and everything is simply designated A, exciting, B, interesting, C, a challenge, D, all of the above. It's simple, but it helps keep me from being too negative.
My high school baseball coach, sociology teacher always used to say, "Those who are prepared create their own luck," before exams. This is a true life lesson.
Leave your verbal guns at the door. This was the HS football coach's first words teaching sex ed at my high school. He used the metaphor of the old American West where cowboys would leave their guns at the door when they entered a saloon to drink so nobody would get killed in a drunken outburst. He said we'd talk about a lot of topics that might make us feel uncomfortable and tempted to make a joke at someone else's expense to break the tension. He asked us to leave our verbal guns at the door so everyone could feel comfortable asking honest questions. This was back in the late 80s. He was way ahead of his time.
My chemistry teacher told my mom that I would do so much better if I asked questions. I've found that this is true in all stages of life. Ask questions.
That I wasn't stupid, just lazy. Changed my life.
My partner had a high school teacher that would walk through the busy hallways at school shouting, hot coffee, while holding an empty mug. He just wanted people to get out of his way and it always worked.
Not as inspiring as the others, but I always found it funny how my teacher would say, 90 degrees, instead of sit up straight.
The true sign of the economy in a slump is when people stop buying big screen TVs. My economics teacher, 2003.
My music teacher when I spent a large length of time skipping school due to various reasons. She had phoned me after spending hours tracking a way to contact me because she was worried. I'm not phoning to tell you off, I'm phoning to make sure you're okay. You don't have to go to the classes you don't like, your exam is on WED and I am phoning to let you know, no matter what I know that you'd still be practicing because you're a bright student and I know you'll go far no matter what you choose to do.
I faked my way through 4th and 5th grade math. I never understood how to do long division, but managed to hide that from the teachers and answer test questions by reverse multiplication. Basically guess a number and multiply it out and see how close I would get, and keep doing it until I got the answer. My 6th grade math teacher figured out that I was faking, and had no idea how to actually divide anything. She had me come in one afternoon to help with cleaning the erasers. All the kids fought for this privilege, so I was thrilled, sat me down and tutored me until I grasped the concept. Bless you, Mrs. Gillespie.
Struggled with dyslexia and a learning disability my whole life. English class was hell for me every year. Senior year my lit teacher read some short story that was required of me and said, "What the beep are you doing here? You are starting in my AP Lit class starting tomorrow." I passed the AP test and my entire life really began because he believed in me. I'm now a high school teacher, and while not as great as him, really think I'm doing good work.
In my childhood only one person ever tackled my mother about her abuse of me and my siblings. It was Parents' Day and my beep of a mother, as usual, turned up to take the credit for my being top of the class again. At one point there was just me, my beep of a mother, and Mrs. Soames, physics teacher, in the lab. Mrs. Soames quite calmly challenged her, saying, "Mrs. XXXXX, why do you treat Tom Stoter the way you do? She's a good girl and doesn't deserve it." To my astonishment, my evil beep of a mother was speechless. No one had ever confronted her before and she just didn't know where to put herself. It was easy for the other teachers and pupils to make snide, patronizing remarks about this cow to me. A 13-year-old girl isn't in a position to do anything about it, and I'm guessing they were trying to ease their consciences about the fact that they were too cowardly to intervene. But Mrs. Soames has been a role model for me ever since, and an unforgettable example of those people brave enough to tackle a bully in the presence of their victim. To have someone stand by you when you are vulnerable, and make their support for you clear, I can't tell you how that changed my view of other people.
I was having a particularly bad year in high school emotionally and my grades were starting to reflect it, so my dad went in for parent-teacher conference day. When he got to my orchestra director, he bluntly told my dad that I was brilliant. When my dad just kind of shrugged it off, like okay yeah he's a smart kid I guess, the director looked him in the eye and said, "No, you don't understand," and proceeded to lecture to him about me. I heard this secondhand from my dad and then talked to my director about it afterwards. His words and his faith in me have stuck with me all my life. I'm now finishing up a PhD in mathematical physics.
My English teacher in grade 6 put a and lot on two separate pieces of paper and taped them to opposite walls on the classroom. Then she got a student to run from a to lot while yelling with them, gets to other side, LOOOOOOOTTTT, to teach us that they were separate and that a lot is incorrect. I have never forgotten and can still picture it as if it were yesterday. Tears of joy. It's been 12 years.
Young man, I said no talking. If you have something to say, meet me out in the hallway and we'll discuss it like men. Another freshman history teacher filling in for my regular teacher after a new kid who had only been enrolled for 2 days, whispered, "Who is that?" to my neighbor.
My favorite math teacher had a philosophy about us understanding how to get to formulas instead of memorizing them. Basically, if we memorized them, we were gonna remember them wrong and would never be the wiser because we thought we remembered it.
Coming up to our final year 12 exams, my maths teacher handed out an article on the most common things people said on their deathbed. She said no one wished they had worked longer hours, that they had spent more time at work than with their loved ones. If we didn't get the grades we wanted, that's okay, because there will be a back doors to where we wanted to go. Failure is okay. It's only a minor setback. What's important is having a good balance between work/studies, family/friends, and our own hobbies/interest.
Alcohol is a byproduct of single-cell organisms. It's what they beep out.
If you want to hurt a man, I mean really hurt a man, you don't hit him in the crotch. You hit him in the wallet. My 11th grade social studies teacher.
In 1974 I was told/taught that the planet Mercury had a tidally locked orbit around the Sun. That one side of the planet faced the Sun all the time. It's not true. Mercury's true orbit and rotational periods were worked out in 1965.
I did cross country in high school. I was not very good, but not the worst. Middle of the pack. Right before a race. Literally about to line up and get ready to run. I'm nervous as beep. I've been training hard every day after school for this. Our coach gave my team a pep talk. You know, in this life, some people have it, and some people don't. Good luck. Thanks, coach.
I'm a lesbian, and in my high school ROTC class, I accidentally came out to everyone during class. Long story. It was really awkward, and at the end of class, our drill sergeant teacher asked me to stay for a moment. I stayed, and I was like 2 seconds away from bursting into tears, thought he was going to say that I was oversharing, or being inappropriate, etc. Only to have this teacher tell me, "What you said today was really brave. If anyone gives you any beep for it, come tell me and I'll take care of it." This guy was a real hard ass, so for someone like him to support me? It meant the world to me.
He told us about the time he and his son secured the only nearby village and started a slave trade on a family-oriented Minecraft server.
Comfort is earned by going through discomfort. Man the beep up and finish these sprints, my football coach. What he meant was our discomfort now would condition us for the real game later, making it easier. But that lesson extends to most of life. You want to be comfortable at some point in life? You're more than likely going to have to earn that by doing stuff that isn't very comfortable, but produces desirable results.
I had a friend that was in the same history class as me and she had a huge crush on the teacher. She was also salutatorian of our class and literally voted most likely to succeed. I graduated with barely a 3.0. She and I both had our history teacher sign our yearbooks, and in mine he wrote, "I'm going to miss our banter in class. You are a highly intelligent individual." In my friend's yearbook he wrote, "Keep on truckin'." I never felt particularly competitive with my friend, but that little bit of irony really changed the way I understood how people view intelligence.
My math teacher told my class we wouldn't always have access to a calculator. Boy, was he wrong.
Cations are positive.
My high school gym teacher and soccer coach told me, "Get the beep out of this beep town before you end up getting trapped like I did. Trust me, that girl is going to trap you. Definitely never forget that."
My favorite teacher in high school, Coach Brinager, once told me that he bought his niece front row tickets to see NSYNC. Apparently, for some reason or another, her mother could not go with her, so instead, he did. He then told me that midway through the concert one of the guys ended up with a hole in the crotch of their pants. This is the direct quote by him. I guess he didn't notice, or maybe he just didn't care. Either way, this dude was free ballin', and from my vantage point, I could see it all. So there I am, sitting at a concert I didn't want to be at, with a starstruck 13-year-old, watching some dude's balls shaken above my head. Good times. He was an awesome teacher though and never gave up on me.
My history teacher told us the mini-skirt rule for papers. Long enough to cover the subject but short enough to keep you interested.
11th grade APUS History. Anytime somebody in power tells you something with a smile, don't trust a damn thing they said. Whenever they say, my fellow Americans, they're about to try to get you to do something they'd never do. And there's no such thing as a short war, especially not for the people in it. Thanks, Mrs. Mellon, and beep cancer.
Sometimes you just need to jump through the hoops.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to subscribe to Upvote for the best quality content every day.